name is Alex Goff. I'm editor of Goff Rugby Report. I've been talking about myself and rugby for about 25 years. When I went to journalism school, which, shocker, I actually went to journalism school, I was learning to be a print newspaper journalist. And all the things they taught me are completely irrelevant now. There was no social media, virtually no internet. The newsroom we had at Northwestern had 16, 17 computer terminals. One of them was connected to the internet. We all had to line up to get on LexisNexis to research things. So I had to teach myself most of this stuff, learn from a lot of people, and you draw the line, say that's it, TikTok, I'm not going to do that anymore, I'm just too old, whatever. Let's start with a couple of questions. How many of you have control over your team or organization's social media account? All right, beautiful. How many of you share control with someone else? Okay, nice. How many of you have someone else somewhere doing that? Excellent. All right. Do you know who they are?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a start. All right. If you are, we've got at least one, varsity college programs, things like that. They have sports information people doing that. This is still relevant. Glad you're here, John. But social media is a phenomenal tool. It is a tool that you can use for a number of tasks. Some of them are extremely relevant to me, which is why I end up talking about it. But it's sort of a citizen media outlet, right? So we just laughed about the fact that newspapers disappeared. Used to be, call your local newspaper. I played baseball in high school, not well enough to start. So I also, one of my jobs was to call in the scores to the local newspaper. And if something interesting happened, I'm trying to get it. We turned a triple play one time, so I got them to take down the entire thing of the triple play. There was a rundown. It was, dogs and cats living together. It was crazy. But we got it in the newspaper. That was a big deal. That was exciting. But now, social media, you can just, bam, do it. You've got a highlight. Up it goes. It's a creative space, right? It's a creative space for somebody to have a little bit of fun with a meme, with pictures. And it's also a place where groups can go. So instead of being a media outlet for the world, it could be a community for just your team, maybe. And I'll run into those as well, the private groups, the public groups. It can also give really interesting feedback, right? You can get feedback immediately from people. I'd like to share a couple of things that I get because it's very important for me to get feedback to be better at what I do. So I wrote down a couple that were interesting. First one, Goff Rugby sucks. He is clueless. He always has been. Can't believe this guy still has a platform. Number two, after knowing you for a long time, I've come to the conclusion you actually don't know anything about rugby. And the third one is one I get pretty much every week. Who is the idiot who does the rankings? It's right here, yeah? All right, so we're gonna. I've actually seen much worse said to volunteer coaches, said about volunteers and players and parents, things they really just don't deserve to have said about them. So social media gets a bad rep, right? We're all a little bit nervous about it, get tangled up in stuff, right? Well, go to my own page. The thing is that you don't control that. Just as you don't control, say, your players when they go home, when they go out, you can't control them. You can't really control what those people are going to do when you put something out there. So, I like to lean on literature to help me guide through this. So as the poet Swift said, haters gonna hate, right? So you have to sort of shield yourself from that. I do that by not looking at any of the comments except for those 3. But we do need to nurture it. I think of it as like it's like a relationship. So your relationship on social media is something you have to take care of, just like you have to nurture any relationship you have with a friend or a significant other. So you nurture it in different ways. So, like if I hang out with my brother, we do that by drinking beer and watching sports. Okay. If I hang out with my other friends back home, actually we do that drinking beer and watching sports. And if I hang out with my son, oh, hold on, okay, so that's drinking beer and watching sports as well. There's got to be someone, there's one person I drink tea and talk about ethnic food, that's it. Okay, so different activities, different ideas for different people, right? And you have to start to think about, if you haven't already, and I'm sure many of you have, you think about who are you nurturing, what relationship are you nurturing when you're on social media? Who are you trying to reach? Who are you talking to? Okay? So, another little hands up. First of all, when we talk about social media, who thinks about Instagram first? No. Oh, we're all so old, I'm sorry. Who thinks about Twitter? Okay, a couple of hands, right? Facebook? Right, Facebook, okay. Interestingly, for me, Division I college teams use Twitter. Division II college teams use Facebook. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why, I'll say. What do you use them for? So, if you want to shout out a couple of ideas, I've got another little list of questions for you. Do you use them for? Do you use it for team announcements? Just, hey, practice is canceled because it's snowing, right? This is our schedule, right? Okay, a couple, not too many. Game reports, full detailed game reports. Yeah, okay. Live video. You do any live Facebook Live stuff broadcasting? Nobody does that. Okay. What about sort of like a game commentary, like especially in Twitter, just a blow-by-blow sort of thing? Yeah, I like those. What about a de facto web page? You don't really have a web page for your team or your group, but you have your Facebook page. All right, so that's the great thing about Facebook. Let's talk about that first. I think it makes sense. You can start and keep updated information about your team as a web page. There's nothing wrong with that. That's your purpose, especially seeing as I don't know, I run across a lot of team websites that haven't been updated since 2013. So it's really good if you have some place where everyone can go, and it's a lot easier. People just, I'm going to go search on Facebook and try and find you. A couple of things about that for people like me: have your schedule up there. Have your schedule as an image that is easily found. Update it. Make sure you have, as we saw a couple of people, there's more than one person. Is it an admin on that? Make sure you have more than one person as an admin on your page. Why? Because one of the people, they break their leg, they move, they lose the password, whatever it is. Suddenly you can't get on there and you have to start all over. But operational control is very important. All right, one of my big fears about doing this is that I do so much stuff on social media that I naturally now, every presentation I give lasts 90 seconds to 2 minutes. So I thought I was going to go through this entire thing in like 3 minutes and just stand there. But I'm okay. We're good. So each of these different outlets, and I'm really going to just talk about Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We could talk about YouTube counts, web pages count. But Instagram is good for what? Anybody want to give me something that they like Instagram for, they think is used for?
I separate our youth program from the parents on Facebook and then try to touch and get to directly to the kids in middle school and high school.
Beautiful. Okay, so if you didn't hear that, parents on Facebook, kids, younger people on Instagram. Instagram, hype, pictures, quick little videos. See a lot of hype images, the big game against, Colonial High School, and, we're going to take those guys down. Big graphic, fantastic. Come see us. Kickoff, 7 p.m. Friday night. That's perfect, right? Instagram is really good for that. It's really good for younger people and your players to get excited. Instagram doesn't generally carry a lot of information. It's very difficult to carry information. And you need a picture. Twitter. Anybody use Twitter? What do they use Twitter for? John, you said you use Twitter.
I basically attach, like any Instagram post you can do, attach all these basically all of our.
All right. So Instagram goes directly to Twitter, goes directly to Facebook, which is what I did that during Salty's thing. I took a picture. So because I was right, covers all your bases. Anyone else? Yes. Game play-by-plays, beautiful. Okay, so that's I use that. I use it frequently for that. I'm going around all over the country trying to find, well, not literally, but virtually all over the country trying to find scores, what's going on with rugby games all over the place. Well, I can't call everybody because even if it's a 3-minute conversation, you think about the number of people I talk to, that's the end of, that's the weekend's gone. So while I'm talking to one person, you're on Twitter, you're seeing what's going on. Was it a surprise? Did your Division II college team beat Penn State? Huge story. Then we're going to call somebody. Did Penn State win 50-0? Yeah, okay. Not really surprising. So then I go through the line, and really the only report we have the play-by-play. There's a break by, I'll use Penn State because I've been thinking about Penn State. They do this a lot. So it's like, break by Jesse Capriati, dishes it off to Brian Stella, he's in at the corner. That's the typical Penn State tweet. And it's great. It tells me a lot. So you can use it for that if you have someone who's on the sideline, gets into the Twitter account, and just starts dropping those pieces of information in. It doesn't have to be a lot. Doesn't have to be every score. I love it when it's like scrum at the 22-meter line, they drop the ball. All right, the penalty, okay, it's not a penalty. Free kick, wait. What I really don't like, and this happens a great deal, try scored, we're up 25-24 with 10 minutes to go. Next tweet, 2 hours later, I'm like, did you win the game? I mean, we want to know, right? But here's what happens. What do you think happens there? Is the kid is on the sideline, right? 10 minutes to go, and then they hang on and they win. Yay, we won, right? They've forgotten about it. Who cares? I mean, not who cares, but which people are really caring? Me and a bunch of parents. Well, what do the parents do? They all call their kids and say, did you win? So they all got that fixed. I have to go find somebody to tell me, did you win? And then it's like, no, they kicked a penalty in the last minute. You can't assume. So if you take anything out of this, if you do game timelines on Twitter, please finish them. All right, Facebook. Yes.
Events.
Events. Beautiful. Okay, so some teams do events like every game, bam, it becomes an event. Some are worried about their tournaments. What do you use it for?
Yeah.
You haven't, all right. Well, exactly. So what's great about the Facebook event thing is you can get reminders go out to people that they're there, right? You can get extra details that never go anywhere, right? It's on that event, that little event block, page, link, what do we want to call it? But you can sit there and say, here's the map to the field, kickoff time changes, you can change it. Yeah, so that's great. I see a lot of Facebook Live broadcasts, and they can be adequate, or they can be terrible. So let's shoot for adequate. Adequate would mean things like making sure your phone is on auto rotate so that you're not filming sideways. A lot of teams will just show what's going on. They won't really have a play-by-play, that's fine. But I would suggest strongly again, let me ask you this. I need somebody to answer. I'm sure somebody will. What is the most common comment on Facebook Live rugby games? What's the score? What's the score? Whoever is filming, it's just a simple thing. Just take them aside and say, look, periodically every 10 minutes, can you tell people what the score is? If there's a scoreboard, can you put the camera on the scoreboard for a little bit? And please, at the end, just tell people, thank you for watching. We won 47-6. See you next time. Those little things, first of all, they help me. It's completely selfish, right? I'm not going to watch the whole thing. I'm just going to flip ahead until the end and see who scored or what the score was. But all of these little things come down to attention to detail. Just as it is when you're running your rugby organization, when you're running your team, when you're playing, it's attention to detail. It's about not just, okay, so we're on social media, we did something. What did you do? Did you actually inform them? Did you inform people like me or parents or fans? Well, let's talk about me for a second. Now, it's not just me. I happen to be one of a very small group of rugby journalists in this country, but you have local rugby press in Wisconsin, so you're pretty lucky there. You have still local press, whether they have a website or TV station or radio station, or, I'm sure, is somebody printing something somewhere? Somebody's got to be printing somebody. Yeah? Printing, okay, you actually get...
Portage County Gazette.
Hey, the Portage County Gazette, awesome. All power to it. See, I've still been brainwashed. It didn't change. They trained me for it, so I love it that it's happening. If you post something about your team that you want to be news, let's say it's a game report, let's say it's somebody got an award, things like that, tagging the Portage County Gazette, tagging Goff Rugby Report, tagging Badger Kings is not good enough. Because I don't know about those guys, I get about 200 notifications a day. I don't look at them, really. I can't, don't have time. So, and also, if I look through those notifications, I see all those comments about me and I don't want to see those. So unfortunately, what I'm asking you to do is make that extra step and actually send it to someone. An email, if they're on Facebook or Twitter, even just a direct message, a link to your game report that you posted on Facebook or Instagram, and say, hey, by the way, we played this game, we won, the report's here. For me, that's a godsend. It saves me an enormous amount of time. And I think, again, take me out of it. Think about your local news outlets. They're not going to pay attention to you unless you go right directly to them and say, hey, we played this big game and we won. We'd like you to write about it. Here's all the details. And I guess just for a moment. And if you are ignored, keep doing it.
They really
Yeah.
like quotes. Just, you know.
There you go. Beautiful. They really like quotes. I like quotes too. I get game reports sent to me by some coaches. They'll just say, all right, here's the score. Here's who scored. Here's a quote from the captain. Here's a quote from the coach. You need anything more, give me a call. I love it. I can make something out of that. And if it's something that's like, it was really dramatic or it was an upset or something like that, then I'll call them back and we'll make a big deal out of it. But if it's just something that's expected, you knew who was going to win, or you suspected who was going to win, then that was great. So, Rob Guyrie out of AIC was coaching AIC. He used to do that all the time. Bruce McLean out of Iona used to do that all the time. And they wouldn't get upset if I didn't call them. The thing is, they just gave me that thing, a quote. Beautiful. So you don't have to send them a lot, but if you keep sending those people that kind of information, eventually they're going to start using it because they see that you're sending them content. And for me, like I said, I'll always use it. But it's not, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's not actually about me. One of the interesting things about rugby in general, let's call it a work on, scores. What was the score of your last game? Do you know it? Does your opposing coach know it? Does the referee know it? Are they all the same number, right? I've had scores be multiple things. It's pretty rough when it's like 24-22 and somebody else says, no, it was 24-24. You know, that's upsetting. Try to establish that. I realize it's an extra job for many of you, but you know, a lot of you are lucky enough to have assistant coaches standing around doing nothing. I'm an assistant coach who stands around and does nothing. That would be a great thing to just say, hey, look, just get that together. So tagging. Understandable that you do it, but it's not the same as distribution. Wow, I'm actually doing pretty well here.
I have a question towards that.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Andy. I'm with the Fox Valley Chaos. We're out of Appleton, and we're the
Awesome.
only women's team in Wisconsin that's like north of Milwaukee. So we kind of have this like divide between like the three men's team around us. You know, we have Oshkosh, we have Appleton, and we have Green Bay. So how do we kind of like play fair when it comes to like tagging other teams and events that they have without over bombarding like our Facebook, because like they're all starting their youth programs now and we want to be involved, but it's like, okay, we post them and we post the other one, we post the other one. It's like, how do you keep it kind of clean without doing the over tagging or oversharing?
Okay, well that's the thing. You don't have to share everything that you're tagged in. You don't have to share everything you're tagged in. For one, I mean, sometimes it's really a simple thing like just click a little like or comment on it just to say, hey, we see you.
Yeah, it's not necessarily stuff that we're being tagged in, but more like stuff that we're trying to share on our page to also kind of like support them and like also put it on our page without having to put like all of them all at one time, or like should they be separated without like over bombarding like our Facebook page with all this stuff?
I would bombard them. I mean, I wouldn't worry about it, really. I would. The big problem is when you have, and I make this mistake constantly, is you have 2 or 3 or 4 things and you do them one after another, bang, 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 bang. You try to spread them out. Whether it's spread them out by about 3 or 4 hours, something like that. And really, and this is another thing I don't do enough of, is you should go back, especially in Twitter, repost, because you're really trying to hit someone who happens to be at social media at a specific time, who sees something. So if you have stuff that you're doing that you really want the general public especially to know about, you really want to pump up, then yes, I would put it out more often. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Now it becomes circular, because you had something that was really important and then you posted 2 or 3 things a couple of times, and suddenly it's way down here. then you got to bring that one back up. But you can pin tweets and you can pin posts, and that's often a good way to keep the most important thing there. Especially check what you pinned. Does anyone not know what pinned means? Right? So you pin a post and it stays at the top of the feed the whole time. Check what you pinned, because you may not have changed that in, say, a year. Try and change it to something more recent. All right, so social media, a way to build your community, right? It's a way to bring in your team or your group, and it's also a way for you to see and reach the greater population. It's really down to draw it into a rugby context. It's a game plan. What are you trying to achieve? Do you want to just have a de facto website for your team and your parents so they know where to be at certain times? Great, be that. Do you want it to be a news outlet so people like me can look at your Twitter feed and see who scored? If you do that, make sure you use their real names and not their nicknames. Right? I don't know who Booger is. You don't know. Well, that's the problem. That's got to learn your players' names. Yeah, I never did. I'm helping coach the freshmen at St. Ignatius. I don't know anybody on that team. It's like 30 kids. I have no idea. And if you're on Instagram, you do the hype. You use that to bump up interest. Again, I'm going to ask, it comes down to, it seems like I'm giving the same message each time. Finish it off. And a lot of Friday afternoon hype memes that I see, I don't see anything that says what happened. Including if the game was canceled, which is, by the way, my bet noir is spending 30 minutes trying to find out the score of a game that was canceled and nobody told me. So you have to tell people that. Sometimes it's not always good information. So in Instagram, what you might want to do is keep something in reserve that's happy, cheery, exciting, positive. So when you post a thing saying our game was canceled, you then post something else, bam! 20 minutes later, that's talking about, hey, we're really psyched about Tuesday. So then you don't have canceled as your number one thing. So if you could learn how your community consumes news, and that's something I can't tell you because I have no idea. Apparently there are newspapers, but that's something that will be important to you in terms of tying in what you do with social media and how you expand your social media. And you expand your social media or your interest, your community interest, by trying to tie in that news. And as I said, try to address them directly. Tagging is not enough. All right, so what do teams do right? They have fun. They have fun on social media. I think there's a lot of fun there. They goof around. I've seen players interview players in video. Love it. I've seen highlights or goofy photos, right? Kids covered in mud. Fantastic. Player profiles. This is a big one that came up in the pandemic. There were so many teams that didn't get to play or hardly got to play. What they ended up doing was doing little player profiles of their seniors who were graduating. This is college and high school especially. I hope they keep doing that. I love it. It's something to just sort of a little nod to the players who are on their team. People like that. It's something that I could probably stand to follow and pay attention to more. I just saw a lot of them just sort of flooding through, but I think that's a great thing that's bubbled up the last year or so. Thank sponsors. How many of you have sponsors in your team? Right? Would it kill you to just thank them once in a while? Just say, just put them out, tag them, link, thank you so much for all you do to support us, right? Have a player stand next to a sign or hold up a program, whatever it is, wear the kit and point to whatever it is where the sponsor has exposure. Give them a little bit on social media. They won't hate you for it. And photos. Photos on social media, I don't think anybody would doubt that putting a lot of photos of the kids up there, that's why you put them up there, right? Somebody sees their kid doing that. All right, so I have just about reached the end of my spiel. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions at all about this topic? Yes, sir.
There are other apps out there. We use the Teen app for communicating, destinations, here's that. How do you feel with those type of apps that are out there, those administrative apps?
I think they're really useful for the teens. I think, if we're talking a general news outlet thing, no, but for the team, yes, they can be extremely useful because, you probably had players who just sort of miss notifications, things like that. So having something where the specific app pops up on their phone gets them to pay attention, I think that's great.
What's your biggest piece of advice for engagement, like Facebook post engagement? So some of the posts that we put out about our team, maybe don't reach the right audience or don't reach many people.
Well, sometimes it's a great question. What's the biggest advice about engagement? I get things that have a lot of engagement, and I don't know why sometimes. Tagging a couple of people can help. Pictures are massive. Video, a short little bit of video can also be good. So if you're, let's say you've got a charity thing your team is doing, and you want to hype it up. There's nothing wrong with just taking, a 30-second video of somebody standing talking about it, or just some footage of some people cleaning up whatever you're cleaning up. It doesn't have to be long. In fact, short is better. And then pop it up there with a little bit of, a little blurb and tag a municipality, some things like that. Tag some people. Look, if I'll tell you this: if you're doing something for for the community, let me know. Then I'll share it for you, right? Try and get people who have a big following. Matt McCarthy, wrap up, rugby wrap up. See if he get him to share it. He's not doing anything, but those would be sort of the things I've been thinking about. Are we done? Yeah, one more.
What's your biggest advice for just trying to build your social media presence in general?
Nurture the relationship, which is like things, comment on things, tag people, get involved in stuff that's happening so you're seen to be out there. Ask people to share. Just be putting yourself out there as if you're dating or something like that. And all right, we're done. One last piece of advice: before you go to bed, do not check your notification feed. And you get those dreaded words, someone has mentioned you in a comment, let that go. Thank you very much.